I will formally start by saying welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining. I hope you find today a useful session. So Pete and I have been working together on Tridium products for quite a long time. Pete from Tridium and myself from Conserve It, we speak quite regularly. So together I hope we can provide you with as much information as you'll need. What we will cover is, I'll introduce formally Conserve It, and then Pete will cover the Niagara Framework and the Niagara software and hardware. And then we'll cover the Niagara product partners, Conserve It's web store, which is something a little bit unique for the Tridium world, and our support portal. So who is Conserve It? Conserve It is an intelligent building automation technologies company. We have developed our own smart edge IoT hardware and software solutions, all based on the Niagara Framework. We are deeply involved with the Niagara Framework and the Niagara solution, so much so that our premier product called Plant Pro, which is a chiller plant optimization and control solution, is built upon the Niagara Framework. We consider ourselves to be distributors, developers, and disruptors. So we like to do things a little bit differently in the smart building and building automation field. So we were founded in 2006, and at the time our focus was centrifugal chiller efficiency. Over time we diversified into distribution, full HVAC control and optimization, IoT products distribution. So from initially distributing Tridium hardware, now we distribute around 20 different brands of hardware and software within the smart building and automation sphere. We have 3 offices. Our head office is based in Melbourne, Australia. We also have an office in Italy and an office in Singapore, representing the Europe, Middle East market from Italy and Southeast Asian market from Singapore. So we are the second largest distributor of Tridium Niagara in the Asia Pacific. We are, I mentioned, OEM, premier developers, quite a large distribution. We sell quite a lot of Niagara and we support quite a lot of Niagara. Other brands that we do sell, so a lot of them are related to Niagara, being Linkspring Hardware, QuickLink, Elite Dali, Maxline, Codaro. So QuickLink, Maxline, and Codaro are third-party driver for the Niagara solution. We're Australian representatives of those products. We sell Elite Dali, being lighting, as well as IO products from EasyIO, Neptronic. We also have our own IO products. We sell, we're a SkySpark value-added distributor, and we also sell DG Light for analytics and visualization. We sell various sensors, Neptronic actuators and valves, and remote access and security through the Tosi Box solution. So you can see Conserve It's catalogue is really quite wide. We cover almost everything that you would need in the smart building world. But we're not here to talk about SkySpark or Maxline. We're here to talk about specifically the Niagara 4 solutions. So at this point, I'll hand all to Pete. Pete, and we'll walk you through the introduction to the Niagara Framework.
Thanks, Anthony. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Peter Palanak. I'm the Tridium sales manager for the Pacific region. I've been working with Tridium just a little bit over 4 years now, but I've actually been working with the product since 2010 and actually come from an IT background prior to that. Can you hit the next slide, please? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Niagara. I'm going to take you through some of our concepts. So we've got quite a bit of popularity here in the Pacific region, but it's not just the Pacific. This product's well known right across the globe. You know, our product's supplied in over 77 countries, and we have many different OEM channels and distributors like Conserve It here in Australia. We've got almost 1 million instances being installed. Our main office is in Richmond, Virginia in America. We've got another office in England, and we've also got Beijing in China for the Asia Pacific region. Next slide, please. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to introduce to you some of the challenges or some of the concepts and some of the benefits of the Niagara Framework. And one of the ways I thought I could do this for you is to kind of match them up to some of the challenges that we find in the industry today. So I guess our industries have changed quite a bit over the last couple of decades. Our platforms have come a long way from just being able to control a couple of points and having some basic graphics of equipment on our screens. But now rather we have like all these other additional requirements, and you can break them up into small little segments. Next. One of those being open technologies and open capabilities. These are one of the major kind of requirements from our customers in our industry. So, you know, the customers don't just want to have the open protocols within their buildings, but they also want to achieve a lot more with their platforms and have that freedom to control and choose who and how they work with all the people in the industry. Next. So obviously part of the requirements is to have that traditional data collection. So we want to pick up points, and this is the UI in the field, digital inputs, analog inputs, as well as the digital input outputs. And, you know, this may come from the native Niagara system, but it also can contain some other controllers from different manufacturers and different vendors as well. Next. But as well as all those low-level I/O points, we have a huge requirement for integration. And this integration may kind of include your traditional, I guess, HVAC or lighting type concepts using protocols within those different segments. But we also find that with the growth in data, with the growth in connectivity, people want to have access to integrate, you know, in both directions back to IT platforms. They could be like scheduling systems, you know, nothing's off the table. Like people want to have heaps of options to integrate to a number of different silos and frameworks, essentially. Next. So once we have all that data within our ecosystems, the next challenge is to try and visualize all that information. So we need an easy way to kind of gather this information and present that in, you know, a number of different formats. And that might be from your desktop PC, that might be on a server in a cloud space. We want to kind of access that information remotely. So whether it's on your tablet or mobile phone, we need to have all these different options for visualization so we can actually see what's going on with our data. Next. With all this connectivity and growth in data, one of the major requirements that we have right now as engineers and software suppliers is the cybersecurity aspects of our systems and our solutions. No longer are we using these proprietary-based systems or low-level, low-point systems where, you know, cybersecurity is not that much of a risk. You'll know from your own use of mobile phones, your home PCs, your work PCs, even your fridges and televisions all have a cybersecurity risk to them if they're connected back to any network. Our industry is no different. We need to make sure that we have the structure there to provide a cyber secure platform to our customers. Next. Further to that, we also need a requirement for modeling the data. As our data grows, so does the requirement to kind of model that and give it some meaning, give it some structure. And this allows us to kind of use that database more efficiently and more effectively for other purposes, like next, like analytics. So whether that be in your own localized system, or if that's in an external cloud-based system, you want to analyze that model data. Next. And to obviously achieve all this, what we want to do is we want to simplify the process. So we don't want to be doing I guess, tasks as we've done in the past, which might be cumbersome and repetitive, copying, pasting from previous sites into new sites. We want to let our software do the work for us. And what I mean by that is that we want to use these tools to replicate pieces of equipment, graphics, whatever it may be. We're trying to minimize and provide more value to the customer in less time, basically. Next slide. Oh, and of course, we can achieve all of this with the Niagara 4 platform. Next. So let's have a look at some of these concepts. So first of all, this is probably the most significant bit of information that I get from the industry. When we go and talk to end customers and a lot of engineers, what a lot of people are looking for is open technology, but also that open capability. And this is more than just a matter of supporting some open protocols within a platform. What people are really looking for here is like that choice and control of their platforms. So yes, of course, we want to connect to open open protocols, and bring that information back into our ecosystem. But once it's in our system, what other support do we have? One of those elements is to make sure that multiple people can actually support that product. And with Tridium, we do have that. We've got that open distribution business model. We have a number of different OEMs, distributors and resellers across the globe, so that one customer, even if they've got a global footprint, they can have their system supported by many different contractors across the globe. But also further to that, once you've got all this information within the ecosystem, it's important that you can actually extend its functionality once it's in there. So traditionally speaking, a lot of platforms will have a limit as to what you can do with the application side of things. With Niagara, we've got some options there to further extend function where people actually build their own applications. But at the same time, that information can be consumed by external platforms. So it really provides that open capability back to the end customer, back to the engineers, and back to the resellers. And most importantly, all of this is all in one single application for all the functions that you need to perform within your solutions. So what we've been doing is we've really, for the last couple of decades, is pushing this open technology. And now we actually see in our markets that other vendors are actually starting to catch up to us or trying to catch up to us to deliver the same kind of concepts. But we have been the real pioneers of this in the last couple of decades. Next. So here we look at the data collection, and this is from, once again, the localized I/O points, but also the integration to other platforms. So from Niagara, we do supply a number of different I/O options. It's not the full range because once again, we try and provide a platform that's suitable for many different industries, not so much focused on just one. But from a full Niagara perspective, we can provide you with server-based software. We can provide you with field embedded devices running the same software. The I/O to pick up the digital inputs, analog inputs, all that low-level stuff, as well as some new edge controllers, which provide some additional smarts compared to a traditional based, fan call unit controller, etc. But further to that, our platform has been extremely well known for the integration piece of it. So, straight out of the box, you can buy a JACE or you can buy some software from us, and it already includes a number of different drivers, a number of different protocols that are included within the licensing. So you don't have to pay any more, whether you're connecting back to a BACnet device, a LON device, a Modbus device, MQTT, all those drivers supplied by Tridium are part of that standard license feature. So you don't have to pay more. You just choose your device pack, deploy your JACE or your supervisor, and you can start to consume that data. But further to that, we also have support for a number of other, protocols. So, whether it's LDAP, bringing in your Active Directory information back into our Niagara ecosystem, so you don't have to keep many different access accounts or SQL databases. You can pull in a whole bunch of this information from existing drivers. And if those drivers don't exist, they can be built. We support the process of having additional applications built for our ecosystem. Next. So once that information has all been brought back into our ecosystem, what we want to do is we want to provide some function there to allow people to create some visualization for their customers. As I said before, we kind of use the same application to produce all the same outcomes. So we still use this workbench software. And that's the same thing that we use to deploy sites. It's the same thing we use to engineer sites, whether it's a bit of programming, whether it's integration, whether it's graphics, we use that same application. You can produce graphics in many different ways. You don't have to be a graphics expert. So we provide with a number of different libraries and widgets that you can use to build comprehensive websites. And everything's kind of served up from that Niagara workbench. So it comes standard with the web server built into the application. So once you've built these graphics and you've put those points in, it's ready to serve up through a web page. So you can use our existing libraries, and this, may have widgets which manage your users in the solution. It could be the alarm management, it could be history management. You can also build out equipment with a number of different libraries that are available in the core application. But you can also extend its functionality through the marketplace website that Tridium produced, and this kind of lists a number of different external third-party vendors. And many people out there, many developers in the developer community have built additional widgets to enhance visualization, whether it's a dashboard, a toggle switch, a piece of equipment. There are a heap of different options that you can use to extend the functionality of this graphics in Niagara ecosystem. Further to all of this, you can create these pages in a responsive mode. So what that means is that whether you look at this from a desktop PC, or it could be a FOIA PC, it could be a tablet or a mobile phone, these pages can condense, they can resize and adjust to suit the views that you're looking at. So you're not trying to fit in, something that was built for a PC type resolution onto a little mobile. Like, all of that can condense into a more defined structure for that mobile phone, allowing you to navigate and present those SVG type graphics on that page. If you're really an expert when it comes to development and coding, you can also build web pages outside of Niagara. So you can have a web server with your own custom graphics, and then you can use the Baha script technology built in Niagara to consume that data and use it for control and monitoring in a web server outside of the Niagara ecosystem. So there's a number of different options. Obviously, the latter's probably for the more specialized people. However, those possibilities are there. Next page, please. So moving into the future, I'm sure many of you have, heard about data modeling or tagging or metadata, analytics. Now with our desire for more and more information, what we, seem to find a need for is, some kind of structure within our data. In our traditional systems, we didn't have tagging. We just kind of depended on the point name, but we didn't know, what the value was, really what it meant. And it wasn't until we actually introduced this whole tagging concept into our industry where we can actually start to structure our information. So these points are things like whether it's Fahrenheit or Celsius, whether it's a sensor or a valve. We actually can put all this additional information onto these points and build out some significant meaning. And then we can also model it by adding additional information, like which building it's part of, which piece of equipment it's part of. But then comes the question, why and how do we do this? So why? Within Niagara, we use tagging for a number of different elements. We actually enhance the engineering process. So when we're creating multiple devices, we can actually do them more conveniently by using the tag information, because it just gives us more power, more information on the points, which means that we can kind of leverage off that for engineering. We can also use it for things like navigation, where we kind of tag up these points once, and we can write a number of different queries, and it's just going to go off and find all that information in the database so that we can build out these custom navigation queries. The beauty with that is that when we actually add an extra device onto the solution, we don't have to go and change those navigation menus anymore. They are going to automatically populate as soon as that device has been added, because it's now all based on that tag information. We can also use it to search our systems, and just to give you an idea, if we're looking for all the fan call units, we could potentially search for a fan call unit, and then we can actually minimize the search results by saying, okay, it's got to be in building X and level 1 or level 2, and really kind of gives us all that information right at our fingertips. So it provides far more power to us at the end of the day. Another element that we use this for is the analytics side. Without the tagging, analytics is very difficult to kind of produce, because it's that age-old saying from a database perspective: if you get garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So this actually structures that data and actually makes sure that we've got the right meaning in there, so we get the right insights into our database. And finally, when I speak about data modeling, another thing is the how. How do we actually achieve this? So I know a lot of products out in the market have or support data modeling or tagging. However, these processes often are just like a static approach, and what I mean by that is that you have to manually go off and add these points, these additional tagging data onto your points. And if you can imagine, like today's buildings, we're having far many more points into our systems. I've seen some systems where there's over 100,000 points. Could you imagine having to tag out each and every point in that system with the metadata? It would just take you forever. And I'm sure that most customers wouldn't want to pay for that kind of workmanship. The other problem is that when you do it in a static approach, you often introduce some human error because people get interrupted by phone calls, have a lunch break, or whatever it might be. So when you're supposed to add tag A, you're adding tag B instead, and all of a sudden your information's just not right. But another important fact is that technology changes super quick. So another challenge is that if somebody says, okay, my system supports haystack X or brick or whatever it might be, what we know is that this is going to change. Technology changes. So we're going to have systems that can change with that real quick as well. And so what I kind of suggest to people is that you need to have processes which adds this information in an automated process. In Niagara, we call that smart tagging. So we can do this application, we can do this process through conditional formatting. So we can check the name. The name is like X. It's got a facet of whatever, and if it matches those conditions, it will add that point. So it means that we can do this smart tagging for today's standards, but if those standards change, that we can quickly adjust those tags and do it in an automated fashion and remove that kind of human error as well. Next slide, please. So analytics, I'm sure many of you have come across customers that are asking for analytics. Many people kind of wonder how they actually can achieve this. There's a lovely picture of Anthony's. Sorry. Within the Niagara ecosystem, you can actually extend its functionality by adding some analytics services. This all depends on the tagging side of your system. So as I mentioned before, tagging in Niagara, one of its features is for the analytics side of the platform. Our analytics package provides a number of great benefits. Firstly, it's just a service that runs in Niagara, so you don't have to have a separate system. You just add an extra service into the station and you can start to use that analytics service. It's closed loop, so any kind of outputs that you get from your analytics formulas, it can run back straight into the a proxied point into your logic. It's easy to use because it's just block programming that most people who use Niagara are already familiar with, so you don't have to go off and learn line by line code in a whole new system. And it's supported by the Niagara community, so there's many people out there who already know how to use this. But if our analytics package doesn't support the requirements that you might have, there are several companies out there who also provide cloud-based analytics. And extracting that information from a Niagara ecosystem is quite easy to do. In fact, when we think about the haystack concept and things like SkySpark, there's a number of systems out there where people just dump in these modules free of charge. There's probably a few different modules that you can download and use, but you can actually get that information all structured, all modeled, ready and presented to the external platform. So many different options when it comes to analytics for you. Next slide, please. Now, this is a big part. Cybersecurity is like a major concern right now. Over the last few years, I've seen a lot more talks about cybersecurity. In fact, I was a little bit concerned a few years back because a lot of people were talking about smart buildings, a lot of people were talking about integration, but not a lot of people were talking about the integrity and the security of these systems. Even now, there are many platforms out there, that don't get patched, they don't get analysed on a regular basis, and it's a real concern because you can just see hacking is increasing. You know what I mean? This activity is getting worse. It's not getting any better. So realistically, when we look at this, there's two main elements. Firstly, we need to make sure that we've got the technology that allows us to achieve best practices when it comes to cybersecurity. The other element is making sure that the people who are installing this are doing the right thing by the technology to get the best possible outcomes. Another thing is, this is not something that we can just set and forget. cybersecurity needs to be adjusted on a regular basis. So we also need to make sure that we get the latest updates. We also need to make sure that we keep our finger on the pulse, keeping track of what changes there are in the industry, new protocols, whatever it is. But cybersecurity is a constantly shifting goalposts, and we have to keep our finger on the pulse and make sure that we do the best to adhere to the best practices. So what do we do at Tridium that's different to a lot of companies? Well, firstly, we're pretty strict with our cybersecurity, and it's almost to the point of frustration. You know what I mean? Like when we first started doing this, people were getting frustrated with passwords changing and the rest of it, but this is a reality. It's not just our systems, it's the same with your banking, it's the same with your home, your Google accounts, like all these policies. It's a thing that's going to stay with us, and we need to accept it in our industry, and we need to make sure that we do the best thing by it. So we do a number of things from a Tridium perspective, and I'm not going to speak about all those different points, but the main focus for us is keeping up to date, releasing those patches. We do have a hardening guide, which you can find on our website. If you haven't had a look at that already, I would suggest that you go onto the website and have a look at that information, because there's a couple of really important steps there that people can just follow. We provide our embedded devices with a secure boot process, and this is a process where we validate the code to make sure that no one's actually loaded some malware into the modules that might be loaded into the operating system. You can use the secure transmission protocols over the open protocols, but there's also a number of different steps, like the secure by default principle. This means that when you take our products out of the box and you start to engineer those, by default, they're going to force you to make some security changes to help protect you and your customers. You can reduce those settings at the moment, but you would have to, go back and change the settings of the product itself to dumb down the security. But we're doing our best to make sure that our products have the right security functionality. We're trying to provide the information back to our community to make sure that people are aware of the challenges. And we're also trying to help the engineering process to make sure that people are adhering to the best practices. Next slide, please. So one of the most important things within our platform that most people wouldn't even, take notice of or appreciate, and, it often goes unnoticed, but it's the extension of the platform that we provide back to the community. And one of the things, the analogies that I like to use around this is that if you think about an Apple iPhone comes to you with, some basic functions. You can use some messaging, you can make some phone calls, you've got your contacts, you've got your iTunes. But when you have a look at the Apple iStore, there are a heap of applications that you can download, whether it's banking, whether it's some kind of AI face conversion application, games. I mean, you name it. There's so many applications out there. If we were to wait for Apple to produce all those applications, we would be waiting, a very long time, decades and decades, and we'd still never get to the same kind of point that we're at today. So having that extension in the Apple iPhone, giving people or developers an option to build applications on top of operating systems, is provide that product with so much more function and so much more use. And that's similar with what we do with the Niagara Framework. So we've got the out-of-the-box application that you can use. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to be an expert. But if you need to extend that functionality, people can go off and build applications, much like what Conserve It have done with their Plant Pro application. They've even loaded our software onto their devices and built some tools around that. It provides far more use of our product in many different areas that if we were to do it all on our own, would never be able to achieve. So that extension is, super important to our framework. But it doesn't just stop there. I mean, this also helps us build all these engineering tools, whether it be like a find replace for an entire database, so you can change all the graphics, you can change all the colors. You can change facets. You don't have to go off and manually do all these processes within our ecosystem. You can use these concepts, these IT concepts, and these engineering tools to help you speed up the engineering process. A lot of those have been simplified through the use of templates, bulk deploy, a number of these cool little features. But it's well worth having a look at. This is going to help you produce your kind of solutions a lot quicker and more efficiently. Next slide, please. So let's have a look at some of the controllers we offer. So I spoke a little bit about the Workbench software. Now, when we think about that software provides you with a number of different functions. We've got alarming histories, we can manage points, we can control points, we can manage integration. Now, that same software is available on our embedded controller, and our embedded controller is called the Jace. If you're familiar with Niagara, I'm sure you've heard about this before. But this essentially is like a field server, so you don't have to go off and buy a PC. You can actually use this embedded controller, put it into a mech board, one of the controls cabinets, and start to integrate a lot of devices. And where it comes into power is when you start to pull in a lot of the, I guess, the traditional serial type networks. Next. And when you buy this from the factory, on board we already have 2 RS485 ports. And these are multi-purpose. This is where we can start to bring in, a number of different protocols into the Jace device. You can have 2 BACnet segments. You can make one BACnet, one Modbus, or whatever other protocol that you're using. Next. And if that doesn't really kind of suit your needs, there's also some expansion models that you can use to, extend the functionality of this device. So we've got those drivers already loaded up into the license feature set, but then we can access additional networks like your LON FT10 or RS232 networks, serial networks, by simply attaching a plug and play module. There's no tools needed for these Jaces. All of it's just clip on and plug and play type function. So you can really kind of, use this in a dynamic fashion to suit the requirements that you have from whatever respective cabinet or whatever it is that you're doing. Next. We also have a Wi-Fi interface on the Jace, and this can act as an access point or a client. So your Jace can actually act as a router, meaning that you can kind of go into your plant room, and if there's no network there, you can connect back to that particular access point, access the web server that's running on this particular Jace, and start to control and monitor the devices on that server. Next. We also have 2 Ethernet ports, and this is, I guess, pretty cool in this day and age. A lot of things are going IP based, so you can essentially use one port as the connectivity back to your IP backbone, and you still got a second port to connect back to, and this kind of reduces the need for switches in panels and things like that. But you can use that second port to go back into a gateway, whether you're kind of controlling some VRF systems. You might have some other gateway in that particular panel that you want to bring into the Jace. But also, we've created some edge controllers, and they're all IP based, and you can kind of link them back into the secondary port. And you don't have to worry about any of those BACnet addresses. You don't have to worry about setting device instances. This is just a matter of daisy chaining. I think it was up to 16 edge devices on a segment, and they can automatically address themselves, and you won't have to worry about the conflicts with addresses, etc. Next. To further extend the functionality of the Jace, so you would have noticed on the previous slide that Jace doesn't have any I/O on it. So, traditionally speaking, it has been that kind of integration device, and it would allow you to bring a lot of controllers back into that device itself. But you can extend its functionality by adding some of these IOR16s or IOR34s. These have a combination of inputs and outputs, some universal inputs, DIs, AOs, DOs, but essentially what this does is it gives you that low-level functionality, and when you plug this back into a Jace, it's just run as a dumb I/O. So you can control and monitor devices remotely or in the mech panel when you plug it back into a Jace, and you can build out all that code within the Jace itself. The cool thing about that is that all that application can actually be built out to, create a template. You can copy, some snippets of code, so you can reuse that quite easily. And no matter what job you go to, Tridium job you go to, you can reuse these devices and deploy them really quickly. Next. This is our most recent kind of release of I/O controller. This kind of brings both the I/O and the integration JACE into one neat little package. So why we've created this is kind of giving us a bit more functionality compared to a traditional fan call unit, controller, or whatever you want to use it for. You can see it looks very similar to a JACE, but it's got the additional I/O configuration on there. And you can see the different configuration that's provided on the device itself. But the beauty about this is that it basically has a controller within a JACE controller itself. So from an I/O perspective, we've got this cool little engine which is running super quick. It boots fast, it runs in real time. It flows through that code super quick, so you can actually start controlling your plant equipment, pretty much 10 seconds from the point you switch the thing on. But at the same time, you still get all the neat functionality that you get in a JACE. So you can use it as a web server. You can use it as a device to manage some alarms and histories. If you've got a small site, or if you want to daisy chain a whole bunch of these, it gives you all that kind of modern functionality plus the traditional controls functionality all in one device. Next slide. So that's pretty much it from me. If anyone has any questions, I'm not sure if we received any during that time, Anthony?
No.
Cool. Fantastic. Well, that was my slides. Thanks, and I'll pass back on to you now, Anthony.
Okay, so we mentioned from Pete mentioned the JACE. So I think there's just a little bit of.
I'll go on mute for a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, so Pete mentioned the JACE, the Edge 10, the IOR. Conserve It also has Niagara-based controllers that it's built. We've built a couple of controllers with partners. We don't manufacture hardware, but we find good hardware, and we'll integrate the Niagara solution onto it, and then sell it as a package solution. So through Conserve It, rather than having the option of just the JACE and the Edge 10, you could buy a JACE, or you could buy a Dell manufactured Niagara controller, or you could buy a small Edge Niagara controller, or a 34-point IO Niagara controller. So actually, these are products that we've developed here in Melbourne in partnership with some companies around the world. Now let me tell you about them. So this is the CIDG 3000. It's hardware manufactured by Dell, and we've ported Niagara onto this device. It's running Windows. It's running Windows 10 IoT. Niagara 4 boots and runs as if it was a JACE. Actually, when you interact with this device, you treat it like a JACE. So you plug it in, and you can reach the same 1.100 or 10.100 ports. Your platform is present. Everything that you would normally do with a JACE, you could do with this, with exception of serial communication. However, you do get the benefit of the display port. So this device actually has a display port. So if you do have a touch screen, for example, or a HMI on site, rather than buying a different PC to display the graphics from your JACE, you can actually get a CIDG 3000 and display the graphics and interact with the graphics directly from this controller. In addition, we have developed a device called the CI534. This is in partnership with a company in America called Linkspring. So this is a 34-point IO Niagara Edge controller. It's a fairly powerful little controller. I would rate it on the same level of power as a JACE, but it's got 34 points of IO on board. You can also buy this same controller with a Monet wireless sensor gateway already packed in. So you can deploy your 534 and communicate directly with Monet wireless sensors at the same time. Something that we've been working on feverishly in the background is a new type of controller called the Edge X1. This is, I guess, our next generation of Niagara embedded controller. So this is a really powerful quad-core controller. It's got 1 GB of RAM, 32 GB of onboard flash, 485 ports, 2 Ethernet ports. This is a really powerful little controller. It will be the most powerful controller within our range. We're very close to having this controller released. It's not released yet, but certainly will be released in the not too distant future. So again, another option for a Niagara-based edge controller. The CI534 range, there are a few different options. So you can also expand with additional I/O. So for example, you can add on 34-point I/O blocks. We also have a serial extender module. So if you want more than 2 serial ports, RS485 ports, you can add our serial extender module to go to 4 RS485 ports and still take advantage of the 34 points of I/O. It's kind of a family of devices. So you can see all of these are different levels of edge controllers. Now, why am I here? So I guess the reason I'm speaking to you today mostly is because we are Conserve It is a distributor of the Vicon and the Niagara solution. Now, we distribute this to a number of Niagara product partners in Australia, and in Asia, and soon to be in Europe through our European arm also. So anyone who does want and does need to buy the Niagara Framework can become a Niagara product partner through Conserve It. And that certainly does have its benefits. So firstly, for all of our Australian customers, we offer pricing in AUD. So that's probably the biggest thing. The biggest benefit is that pricing is fixed. It's at a known value. You don't need to worry about conversion from USD to AUD. We're offering an AUD with local stock from Melbourne. So we store all of our Niagara controllers, so be it the JACEs or the CI Edge range of controllers in Melbourne, as well as all the accessories. So if you need anything, you can buy it in AUD, shipped from Melbourne within a couple of days. But what's really powerful about becoming a Niagara partner is you get a whole range of different benefits, such as access to all the downloads, full access to the community. Niagara partners have access to training, reviewing licenses online through online inventory. So there's a lot of really clear benefits to being a Niagara partner, and particularly being a Niagara partner through Conserve It. So of course there's a fee to sign up as a Niagara partner. This is consistent across the entire industry. When you do sign up, there is a $3,000 USD sign up fee, but you do get access to the Niagara product and you get all the benefits, including 3 engineering workbench licenses. And then annually, there's a $2,000 renewal fee. One thing that Conserve It does offer is a bit of an innovative way to purchase your controllers. Of course, you can send us a purchase order. Niagara product partners can send us a purchase order and we can go through the standard process. However, if you'd like, you can also use our Conserve It web store. So on our web store, we have a full listing of Niagara controllers. So you could go into our web store and select your JACE 8025, for example, with your maintenance, add it to your cart and check out, and you've just bought yourself a JACE. It will register in our system and we will have it shipped to you within a few days. That also extends to supervisor parts. So if you do want to buy a Niagara supervisor, you can do so through our web store. And also in our online resources, you can access, Niagara product partners can access the Conserve It support portal. So we actually have local engineering support, and our support team is very skilled in Niagara, in integration, in a whole range of different applications. So all of Conserve It's Niagara product partners will get access to this wealth of knowledge. If you're installing a JACE and you run into an issue, you can always email support@conserveiot.com and our support team will respond to you. Or you could go through our support portal. So our support portal is an online support system. Aside from just being able to register your support query, we also have a knowledge base. So once you type in what your support query is, you'll get some suggested articles that you may just find that it solves your query without having to submit. So the Conserve It support portal and the Conserve It support team are a very big benefit to becoming a Niagara product partner through Conserve It also. And additionally, we have technical sales support. So for example, myself and my colleagues can always assist you if you've got a new project and you're not sure which JACEs, which level of JACE or which IO to add, or which one of the edge devices is the perfect edge device for your particular application. Our technical sales team can always support. As a Conserve It Niagara partner, you get access to our price list, which I've shown on the screen here. Aside from just the Niagara gear, it also has all of our other hardware and software solutions included. So really quickly, you can see if you want to add a Codaro driver to your JACE, you can get all your prices from a single source. So Conserve It support team operates Monday to Friday, 9 AM to 5 PM Melbourne time. We also have our European leg operating support from roughly 3 PM Melbourne time to quite late at night. So there's fairly consistent coverage in support. You can always get to us either via that support portal or support@conserveiot.com. So in summary, the Tridium solution is a really powerful solution for analytics, integration, control, visualization. Conserve It brings to the party a range of edge IoT controllers, being the CI534 range, the CID-G range, which is the Dell-based option, of course, all the JACEs, and soon to be our Edge X1, which is going to be a game changer Edge Niagara controller. As a Niagara partner, you get access to a range of benefits, including technical support, sales support, training, online resources such as your licensing, and a whole wealth of other things. And we're always here ready to discuss your projects or discuss your requirements. So I guess that's my summary of what I've covered today. I am happy to take some questions if there's any questions. Questions about either Conserve It's offering, what Conserve It brings to the party, or the Tridium solution, the Niagara solution. So if you do have a question, feel free to pop it in the chat. Okay, we obviously covered everything well enough that there are no questions. But that's okay. So if you do have any questions at any point in time, of course, you can reach me, anthony.giragosyan@conserveiot.com, or Pete via ppalanek@tridium.com at any point in time. I will probably touch base with you if you need anything. Just drop me a line. I guess thanks for joining today. Pete, do you have anything else to add before we wrap up? I think you're on mute, mate.
My apologies. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank everybody for joining the call. Yeah, Tridium is a very dynamic system and can be quite confusing in how to use it and who to purchase from and how. So I guess, don't be shy. You've got our contact details. We're here to help. We're here to, share the information. And yeah, thanks for your time. Stay safe.